My English name is Dewight Bullcoming. My father's name is Vernon Bullcoming. His name is Hukehemia. My grandfather, Roy Bullcoming. My father's father's name is what was that? I can't pronounce that name. Starving Wolf is translated, but I know that by heart that Indian name. And one of the stories that I heard when I was growing up, and I was told when they tell the stories, they're only supposed to be told at night, and it's supposed to be quiet, and supposed to have reverence and be respectful to the storytellers when they tell the stories. That's what I was told when I was growing up. And one of the stories I know from listening to quite a bit was how the names came to be, some of them in our family. And at one point, sometime in prehistory, I guess you might say, when the man was first made, I guess he got sick. And when he got sick, he wasn't able to do anything for himself. And he was had no helpers or anything. So the animals, they gathered together. They came around to help the man, because the man was the one to be looking out for everything, all creation at the time, I guess. And so they all came one at a time, all these animals in groups. The flying animals, the birds, the ones that crawl on the ground, the animals, and then all types of animals came. They doctored that man when they wanted him to be well. So the last two that came over there was the wolf and the bear, Hotne and Nako. So they came to the opening of the lodge, and that man was sitting up in there when everyone was gathered around there, all the animals. And they told that last two, they said, we made him well, we helped him, he's going to be all right. We give him our medicine, help him to help us with all the things that we have to do in this creation. That's what I was telling these last two animals that came. So they conferred with each other outside the door there before they went in. And then they went in and they sat before that man, and they talked to that man. They told him, I guess you're well. We have some medicines. We were going to help you, but since you're well, we have nothing to give you to make you well. So what we're going to do is that we're going to give you ourselves. We're going to sacrifice ourselves for you, so that you will continue to be alive all the time. What they meant was that they were going to give themselves to that man, Hotni and Nako. So when they did that, that man, he prospered. He had children, their children had children, and the children after that, and then they spread out from there to many people in our tribe, Cheyenne people. So to this day, wherever you go, wherever you find a Cheyenne, there's a spotted wolf, black wolf, white wolf, all manners and all types of wolves that are still among our people. And same way with bears, black bears, white bears, spotted bears, different types of bears and different types of wolves. So that's what they meant when they told that man, we're going to always be with you to help you. We're going to sacrifice ourselves for you, so you'll always be well, so they gave themselves to our people. That's how it came to be. We have these names among our people, our Cheyenne people. That's one of the stories I heard when I was growing up. That was a good story, I remember, because my grandpa, he's one of the traditional people among our Cheyenne people. Just sit around home and tell stories. I like to listen to him. One of the other stories I heard was that when they first put him on a reservation down over there in Oklahoma, they gathered all the Cheyennes up on the plains that they could find. They told them to come to this place. They were not going to make war on them anymore. So they put them in a place, they call it Camp Supply. They had this agent in charge of them. And by this time they took all away their guns and their horses and their roaming life from the plains. So they had to live in this one place all the time. And then the government told them that they would feed them and take care of them all the time. It was one of the entitlements in their agreements with our people. So this agent, he brought some cattle down from Dodge City, Kansas to Camp Supply. That's about 120 miles north from Camp Supply over there in Oklahoma, near the Panhandle. So they got together, these warriors and these women. They were remembering the old days when they lived freely out on the plains and they all gathered for the hunt. So the agent, he was sympathetic to them. And he told them, we're going to let you put all these cattle in the big old pasture here. You're going to run them in a corral. And you're going to select your warriors. They're going to go in and they're going to count coup on these cattle, and then we're going to kill them. Then you're just going to divide all the meat up, and then you're going to have your food like the old days, they told them. So I guess there was about 4 of them. They run those cattle in that one time. They killed 3 of them. One of them had an axe that was running around inside that corral. So that guy, he was going to count coup on that cow before they killed it with some arrows. So that's all they had, bow and arrows. So he got that axe and he hit that cow. Must have been a pretty good sized bull. He knocked that cow over. The cow laid there. Everybody made their war whoops and made their shrilling noises. Everybody got down, and these old guys, they all came down there and they all started cutting that. The way you butcher, you cut around the ankles, cut it up this way, then they rolled it over, taking that hide off of that bull. And that guy, he must have didn't know that he didn't kill that cow. So all of a sudden that cow started to shake and quiver. That bull, he jumped up and he started chasing these guys around in that corral. The warriors that were fearless at one time, they were running from white man's cattle. So then finally this old lady, she jumped out of that fence and she ran it with that butcher knife. And she get that bull, she cut his throat, and she finally killed that cow. Well, that was one of the stories I heard when they were trying to remember the old days when they used to have free life out on the plains, doing buffalo hunts and community feeds when they all shared everything alike. And one of the other stories I heard was this boy, when he was young, they had a camp over here somewhere along the Platte River, and he liked this girl, but this father, he was pretty strict with his daughter, I guess, back in them days. He kept pretty close watch on their young ladies, and young men were not men until they went out and they got their they got their horses, or they went to war back in the day. So this girl, she wouldn't give this guy the time of day, but he liked her. He kept hanging around over there to her, and then finally her father took a notice of that boy. So they were going to move camp. They were going to go to a gathering over there somewhere on the, where they're going to meet and have a ceremony. So this boy, he finally got some horses and went out and got some war honors. So they had this big camp of Cheyennes there. Our people were getting ready to do ceremony. I think it might have been maybe a sun dance or animal dance of some sort when they had those ceremonies. So this boy is trying to get horses. He put them out there in front of the teepee. That man, he would run those horses off, that girl's father. And then next thing you know, I guess that girl, she finally took a liking to him, because this guy, he was pretty persistent about wanting to get with this girl. Back in those days, I guess when you like somebody, you want to them when they had social dances, you wrap your blanket around them and you talk to your girlfriend like that. And then no premarital sex or anything like that. So this old lady, her grandmother, them days they had chastity belts. They tied knots on them with buffalo rope, buffalo hide, rawhide. So as the old lady was observing her granddaughter, they took her, tied her up with that belt and tied herself to that belt and slept with her in the teepee. About 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, this boy, he's all lovesick and everything. He's gonna go over there and see his girlfriend, his intended girlfriend. Apparently this girl, she had a sister, just had a baby. His husband was out on a war party. And these soldier societies would make patrols around the camp to make sure everything was secure. So this boy, he crawled up to that teepee, and that fire was dying down, and that man, he got up and threw some wood on that fire, laid back down and went to sleep. And this boy, he put his hand in that teepee underneath there, started feeling around. But pretty soon somebody coughed and he put his hand back. When he put his hand back like that, his hand stayed warm, I guess. So he tried again, put his hand back in there. Must have been touching that woman's baby where that thing rolled over and made a mess, I guess. And right in the mutts, right there. So that boy felt something warm, he's squishy. Pulled his hand out real fast and he put it to his nose and he smelled it. About on that time, here come the patrol soldiers. They're gonna keep everything safe. So when he smelled it like wrapping it across his nose, and he gonna shake it off his hand, like I guess he hit that tent peg, broke his fingers. He didn't want to cry out or anything, so he stuck his hand in his mouth. Kept from making any kind of noise and hurting, so he crawled away. Guess he had to forget about that girl that night. He didn't get to do what he intended on doing, so maybe that was the first teepee creeper when we know about. So that was the end of that one. And then the other one was my uncle. His name was Tamil. Back in somewhere in the 1800s, 1860s, somewhere around there. My great-grandfather was born in 1866. His name was Bullcoming up. He was telling one time when I was growing up, and I just barely remember where our names came from. And this man, I guess he was a Cheyenne over here, up northern bands. They used to call him Hiscopes, porcupine. So they went to down here. There's a site over here somewhere along the Platte Alliance, town of Alliance, North Platte, Nebraska, somewhere down there, about 60 miles north. and it was north and west of the town of Alliance. So then white people came and they laid down those railroad tracks. The first time they ever took and derailed one of the trains that they got famous for later in Kansas was this man. His name was Spotted Wolf. Then the other one was Porcupine. They had a handcart, two guys on each side, and pushed it up and down like a water pump. That train was coming, and these two were talking, hey, let's take this thing and put it off its trail over here, its road. So they laid some stuff across there. So the white guys, they stopped. Then they seen these Indians off in the distance, so they went back a ways, maybe about a quarter mile. Then they decided to take a run at it, so they took off, pumping away, and then that thing was coming, push cart. They hit that thing and they derailed it. So they went back and then told the camp what was happening over there, what they had done. And they were getting tired of all these people coming across our land and killing all the animals and not even being respectful of anything. So they got into a lot of battles, I guess, with the soldiers down south over there. And then they all got together somewhere around Kansas, Larner, Kansas. There comes a big train. They got all together on that. The first time they tried it, they all put ropes across, tie it to their horses. One of them was Mad Bulls. There's all different types of names that they had that go with that story there. It's pretty well known down south. But the first time they tried that train dragged all those Indian guys a long ways and skinned them up pretty good, I guess, through the prairie and cactus. So the second time they got mad and they started killing all of them settlers and making all these German women their wives and killing their men, taking all that they owned. So later they went and took all these railroad ties. They took them off the tracks. Early in the morning, trains coming by. They knocked that train off their tracks. They made a charge on that train and they killed all those people on there for desecrating our land, coming across and not getting permission to do those things, build a railroad across our land. So they got all the stuff that was in there. All the camp came and they took whatever they wanted out of it. Like spoils of war, I guess, whatever was there. And then they went on their way. Then later on they started having battles with soldiers all up and down our country, between the Rocky Mountains all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and all the way down over here to the Missouri River, where our territories were among our Cheyenne people. So as far as I know, the way I was told was that we are the only tribe of people, of any Native Americans on the North American continent, that has ever took on the United States government, that has ever derailed a train. So no other tribes has that. They can say that they took an iron horse and broke it. So we are the only ones, the Cheyenne people, we have one of those things to be proud of. So I think that's one of the things that's important our young people need to know, is that some of our history, before it gets forgotten. And I really look forward to hearing a lot more from our elders around here, some of the stories that I've heard and come across. But some of those stories I just grew up with, and then there's some other stories about how that when the train got derailed, when they went back to that camp, they gave that man his name, that has ghosts. They gave him his name, Ma'atameo. That's where my name comes from. It's translated Iron Road, I guess. And the other translation I heard from one of my aunts was that when this baby was born, the sun would shine, rays, sun rays all the way down to the ground. And they hold that baby up to that sun ray like that. It's a shiny road. That's what that was told to me. I don't know which version to believe, but I know I have that name. So I'm proud of the history that goes with that name. I think there's a couple more stories, but I can't bring them to mind right now. But I thank you for your time. And, really look forward to coming over here and sharing this with. I can't say it in Cheyenne, our language, because I'm kind of not good in our language. I speak some of our language. I'm not very fluent. I understand a lot of words that aren't spoken anymore from my elders when they used to talk our language, the old language. Never hear those languages anymore. Once in a while, I hear some words that I know from a long time ago when I was growing up. Anyway, I'm 61 years old now, and that's how I remember some of the stories as I was growing up around our home place over there in Oklahoma. Aho, nya shume, nya ha.